Thank you for having me here. It's a real pleasure for me to be in Alma Mater again. Frankly speaking, initially I was going to share some of my experience as a PR manager and a business English tutor. I wanted to remind you of the power of language and how we all should work smarter, not harder. But all these topics just didn't feel right. They didn't strike a chord within me. So at one of our rehearsals, I heard someone say, "We're here to change the world." And it occurred to me that I can contribute to that too. And I realized how eager I am to spread the word about my motherland. I've chosen exactly 9 facts about Kalmyks for a good reason. Because number 9 is a magical number for our people, and it has a sacred meaning. For example, we even divide our lives in 9-year cycles. Okay, let's start. So fact number 1, we do live in Russia. For example, when I studied in the United States as an exchange student, my American classmates called me Russian Chinese. They didn't mean to offend me, but they just couldn't wrap their minds around the fact that Asian-looking people also lived in Russia. So I've lived in Moscow for 13 years now, and people keep asking me pretty much the same question. Are you Kazakh? Are you Kyrgyz? Are you Korean? And when I say no, I'm Kalmyk, by their perplexed face expressions, I can always tell that it doesn't ring a bell. So, just a second. Here's the Republic of Kalmykia on the map of the Russian Federation. As you can see, it borders with Rostov, Volgograd, Astrakhan, and Stavropol regions. And its landform resembles a horse, which is quite symbolic, I suppose. The next fact. We remember our history. Originally, Kalmyks are descendants of Oirevs, who migrated from Jungaria to the south of Russia in the early 17th century. And since that's how Jungaria looked like many centuries ago, since voluntary accession, Kalmyk people have been defending Russian interests and its territory in multiple wars. It's the Patriotic War of 1812, Russian-Turkish Wars, the World War I, the Great Patriotic War, and many more. These are just some of the Kalmyk heroes who were awarded with medals of honor for their bravery and courage. However, there is another memory that we all share, and it's a sorrowful one. I'm talking about the unjustified deportation under Stalin's order in 1943. I know that Kalmyks are not the only Soviet nation that suffered from the government injustice, cruelty, and mistreatment at that time, but it doesn't make it any easier. And my grandfather was exiled when he was a little boy, and he eyewitnessed how other children and elderly people died of starvation and freezing cold in freight trains designed for cattle transportation, not for human trafficking. So more than half the nation died on the way to Siberia and during the first winter months of exile. However, despite all the hardship and suffering, Kalmyks persevered, and in 1957 they were rehabilitated and they came back to the south of Russia, having to start over to rebuild and restore the ruins that once were their home. And I firmly believe what really helped my ancestors to survive and stay strong was their unshakable faith. So this brings me to the next point, where Buddhists, or Lamaists to be precise, and His Holiness Dalai Lama XIV has visited Kalmykia 3 times, and when he visited the Republic for the last time in 2004, he blessed the opening of the largest Buddhist temple in Europe. It's called the Golden Abode of Buddha Shakyamuni, and it looks magnificent. By the way, before entering it, you should spin the prayer wheels. Here they are, with the mantras inside them. And while you're doing it, it is believed that thousands of sacred, powerful mantras are recited for you. So next fact. We all play chess. It's a true fact.
It's true.
We even have a chess city in Kalmykia where where all the grandmasters come to compete, such as Garry Kasparov, for example. And the former head of Kalmykia, who is, by the way, MGIMO graduate too, introduced chess as a compulsory subject at Kalmyk school. So really, every Kalmyk can play chess. If you know someone from Kalmykia, you can ask them and check and play together. Next fact, we preserve national traditions. We celebrate Zul, it's a Kalmyk New Year. Tsagansar, it's a spring festival, which means white moon. And some couples even choose to wear traditional clothing to their weddings. However, that's how it look like. However, some customs are forgotten and have sunk into oblivion. For example, a long time ago, single Kalmyk girls had to wear only one braid, and accordingly, married women were supposed to wear 2 braids. So I decided to revive this ancient custom at my wedding of braid separation. Next fact. I hate to admit that, but we rarely speak our mother tongue. But there are valid reasons for that. Due to dissemination of Kalmyk families throughout Siberia during the 14 years of exile, the Kalmyk language deteriorated extensively. However, I'm willing to change it right now. What I'm gonna do is teach you at least 3 expressions in Kalmyk. So, mended, it's hello. Yeah. Next one. Oh. Okay. Vicham da durtav, it's I love you. Probably these expressions seem really complicated and probably you won't memorize them, but I'm sure you'll remember this one. It's the shortest toast in the world. It consists only of 1 letter, yeah, which means ooh, it's drink, yeah. Anyway, going back to the point, few people speak Kalmyk due to the continuous assimilation. And this perennial problem is also connected to the fact that many students move to Moscow or abroad to study. And this brings me to my next point. We place a high value on education. There's almost nothing more important for Kalmyk parents than making sure that their offspring gets a decent higher education. I come from the family of teachers, so I know what I'm talking about. The 8th fact, we welcome tourists. Have you ever seen blooming lotus flowers? Have you been to the tulip festival? Have you ever ridden a camel? In Kalmykia, you can do all of that. And tourism flourishes in Kalmykia, and people from all over the world come here, come there. For example, even Steven Seagal, a famous Buddhist, also paid a visit in 2007. All right, so the 9th fact, last but not least, we support friendship of nations. As for me, I'm married to a Russian guy, and sometimes it feels like my family loves him even more than me. Just kidding. Or maybe I'm not kidding. So, I would like to wrap up by wishing all of you to remember your roots and cherish your national heritage. Thank you.